Let's think about the differences between spoken language and written language. I think most of you would say it's easier to talk about things than to write about them. When you write, you have to draw on many different skills. Punctuation may not seem very important to you when you are writing, but it plays an essential role in keeping some thoughts together and separating others. I want you to turn to page 9 in your student book and look at part A. Follow along as I read several different excerpts from Batty about bats. Pay special attention to the punctuation marks and how they provide information to the reader. Let's look at number 1. Bats use wings to fly. Skin connects the arms, hands, and ankles of the bat. I want you to circle all punctuation marks and underline the capital letters. This is what you should have done. You should have underlined the B at the beginning of the sentence in number 1, bats, and the S at the beginning of the second sentence in number 1, skin. You also should have circled both of the periods as well as the 2 commas in the second sentence. Remember that end marks, such as periods, question marks, and exclamation points, signal the end of a sentence, whereas capital letters tend to signal the beginning of a sentence. But I want you to be on the lookout for another purpose for capitalization. Commas are used here to separate items in a list, but there are many other different uses for commas, so I want you to be on the look for that as well. Let's look at number 2. Flying takes lots of energy, so bats eat a lot. Bats eat half their weight each day. Notice in the first sentence, the comma is being used for a new role, joining 2 connected thoughts. The exclamation point is another example of an end punctuation mark. Now let's look at number 3. Bats eat a lot of bugs. They save the plants that bugs like to eat. Without bats, bugs could kill a lot of plants. Look at the comma usage in that third sentence on number 3. Here it is separating a phrase at the beginning of a sentence from the rest of the sentence. Now let's look at number 4. There is a fruit in Asia. They save the plants that bugs like to eat. What if there were no bats? Notice that we underlined the 2 T's and the W that were at the beginning of each of these sentences, as well as the A in Asia because that's the name of a place. We also circled the 2 periods and the question mark, which is a third example of end punctuation. Note that there's a different word order between a statement, like they save the plants that bugs like to eat, and a question, what if there were no bats? Now let's look at number 5. Today, bats are in danger from us. We destroy their homes. We've got another use of commas here. Look at that first sentence. There's a comma after today. Here it is separating one word that answers the when question from the rest of the sentence. Let's review what we just found. How many different end marks can we use to signal the end of a sentence? What are they? What words are capitalized in a sentence? How many different jobs were given to the comma? What were those jobs? Now let's take a look at part B on page 9. Let's look at this short passage that contains no punctuation. Without these critical signals, it will require a great deal of effort to figure out what the author is trying to say. Listen as I read this passage aloud. Bats fly at night. Did you know that they use sonar to see at night? They eat all night long. After flying all night, they are tired. They sleep in caves, in bushes, and even in buildings. Bats can be found flying, eating, and sleeping all over the United States. Let's go back and see if we can figure out where we should add punctuation to help clarify meaning. I'm going to focus on finding the who or what in each sentence and then see if they did something. Bats fly. That's the what and what they do. Is that the end of the sentence or is there more detail? Yes, there is more detail. At night. That tells me when they fly. Did is the next word and doesn't sound like it goes with bats fly at night. Let's put a period after night. What do we need to do to bat? And since we capitalize bats, what do you think we need to do with did since we put a period before the did? That's right, we need to capitalize it. Where do you think that sentence ends? Did you know that they use sonar to see at night? I would put an end punctuation mark after night, but what end punctuation mark am I going to put? It seems to be asking a question, so I'm going to put a question mark. If I put a question mark there, what am I going to do to they? That's right, I'm going to capitalize it. Where would the next sentence end? They eat all night long after flying all night. Ah, I think after long we need to put a punctuation mark, an end punctuation mark, but what end punctuation mark should we put? Should it be a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point? I think that could be exclaiming. So we put an exclamation mark after long, which means we're going to capitalize after. Now, we have the phrase after flying all night. That's not a full sentence, but I think it functions as a phrase. And since it's a phrase at the beginning of the sentence, we're going to want to put a comma there. So after flying all night, comma, they are tired. But then we have another they. So we probably want to put a period before they, in between tired and they, and that means we're going to capitalize that's they, where it says they sleep in caves. Oh, look, we have three uses of the word in caves, in bushes, and even in buildings. So I think we want to put a period after buildings, but we probably need to put some commas in there because that seems to be items in a series. So we're going to put a comma after caves, after bushes, and then we have our period after buildings. And since we have a period after buildings, what are we going to do with bats? That's right. And when we have three ing words right together, flying, eating, and sleeping. So I think we need to have those commaed off too. So we have flying, comma, eating, comma, and sleeping all over the United States. What do you know about United States? What do we need to do to that? That's right, we need to capitalize it. So we're going to capitalize United and States and end it with a period.